Yo, how's it going, guys? Rudy Wade TCG back at it again with another video, and today we got four guests going on with this Hartford meta discussion. So yeah, why don't you guys go introduce yourself? I'm gonna turn off my webcam. So yeah, go ahead. We could start Charlie, Alec, Nick, then Dylan.
All right, what's up, guys? My name's Charlie KERR. I'm playing the game for about like 4 years. I'm from Florida. I play Pokemon.
Woohoo. Alright. What's up, guys? My name is ALEC GEISSLER. It's my first year playing competitively, like technically second year playing. I'm at 384 CP, and I'm going to Hartford.
What's up, guys? My name is Nick Robinson. I've been playing competitively for, what is this now, like 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. I learned how to play the game 6 years ago. I'm at 390 CP. I'm not going to Hartford, but I did go to Daytona. So.
What's up, guys? I'm Dylan Gunn. This is my first year playing, and I will not be going to Hartford, but I have 412 CP.
All right. So to start it all off, the most recent regional was taken down by Zorotoad. Do you still think this is the best Zoroark variant going into Hartford this weekend, or even a good play in general? We'll do the same order throughout the whole.
All right, so for Zorotoad lasers, I don't think it's being played by many other people besides DDG. It's just kind of like their thing, and I think they're probably some, if not only, the ones that I think that know the decks like ins and outs, and I think they know how to play it the best.
Yeah, like going back on that statement, DDG are mainly the ones that represent the deck. But after testing it, and talking to a couple people, that I don't think it's the best deck personally. Like, I don't think it's that good, even though they just won a regional with it. Like, Evan misplayed so many times, and also their deck loses to a giraffe. So I don't know. I think they just built the list the night before and hoped on people misplaying, because that's what usually happens. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I think the deck is strong, and I think it was a good meta call, but I think that's really what it was a meta call. People weren't prepared to play against the deck. People weren't prepared to be able to hit 220 under item lock. Weren't prepared to deal with flipping tails on sleep, and so DDG took advantage of that, and some other guys played it too. It wasn't just DDG. I think there was like two other people.
Cooper.
Yeah, Zach Cooper, and I think Charlie Lockyer played it as well.
Yeah,
they had
Cooper
slightly
really
different
lost
lists, but the deck was good for the regional just because nobody was ready for it. But I think people will probably start putting in text for the deck, and it won't do as well at Hartford.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, but I also think DDG always comes up with these pop-up decks that are gonna do good at this one event, and then it's gonna be countered the next event, and they won't play it. So I just think the deck's gonna be not as good moving forward.
All right, and so the other Zoroark variants that are in the format right now, kind of in the loop of things, are Garb and Control. So which of these two decks do you think is better positioned going into Hartford?
So we're just talking about with Zoro control, no lasers, right?
Zoro Control with the Oranguru, Macargo, all that stuff, Giraffe.
Personally, I think Zoroark is better. I feel like you take closer matchups, and also you're like one of the only decks in the format that can beat Shock Clock, which is getting some hype.
Yeah.
Croxton literally was the only one who played it. Top 8 both the events he went to.
Cooper
played it, yeah.
Not top 8, but he did.
Top 16. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. But I think Zoroark is better out of the two. If you're gonna play Zoro Control, you might as well just play lasers. I think that's the better version.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I love Zoroark the most. I don't think the deck's good anymore. Well, it's good. It's just that like they said in Celios's video, Zoroark always falls one meta behind or one regional behind, and you can't tech for everything now. Like, you have to tech Mr. Mime for Archies and Pikarom. You have to tech Ranger for Zorotoad. You have to tech X, Y, and Z to beat certain matchups. And at this point, it's just you have too many matchups that you got to tech for, and you got to choose which one you want to lose to. And expanded, you can't really take a loss, because no matter what, a loss technically a loss is really bad for you. But no matter what, you're gonna hit something that you don't want to face.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people are going to be countering Zoro Control just based off of like how good control decks did at Daytona. I mean, they took up like 3 of the top 8 spots. So it, I think people are going to be preparing for that. So I don't see that doing super well at Daytona or at Hartford. Zoro Garb is like Alex said, it's just like in a weird spot where it's always like one meta behind, and it's hard to make the deck consistent, but also be able to play the techs that you need to be able to beat certain matchups.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think the deck can't keep up with a lot of the decks in the format because like it's just they're either too fast or it just has to tech to beat that matchup, but then it can beat other matchups. So I just think it's in a weird spot.
All right, and based on all that said, no explanation really needed. Just say what the best Zoroark variant going into this event is: Toad, Garb, or Control.
I'd say Toad Control with laser is probably the best variant.
Control, like just straight control.
Just straight Control.
Yeah.
It's
Between those
kind of
two.
contradictory to what I said, but I think I'd go with Zoro Garb.
I think I'd go with just straight control because they play giraffe and they just beat toad lasers.
All right. Moving on to a different type of deck, Pikarom. It got second at the last regional, and it is mainly hyped because of its ability to beat these control decks. How do you think this is positioned going into the meta?
Pikarom, I think it's pretty well placed. I mean, you're so much faster than like most of the decks in like the format that you can just like overwhelm your opponent. And I think struggles against like one prizing fighting decks, but like I mean Flash Energy is a card, but it's definitely not like a terrible call. It's probably a safe pick because you can just overwhelm your opponents with the speed, and it's pretty consistent.
It's really good. I really like it going into Hartford. Yeah, that's the regional. I think if you're fine taking, not taking a L necessarily, but if you're fine taking a bad matchup in the fighting decks, it's fine. I personally would cut the flash energies at this rate. Like Hitmonwob isn't that great, like or isn't that seen anymore. And Buzzwole's just Buzzwole. I mean, you'll probably hit one, but with as small as this regional is, I think I did the math, or not did the math, but I looked up the numbers, and it's like only 300 so far. And if you're expected to hit a Buzzwole, I mean, congrats, you hit a Buzzwole. Just take the L and move on. But otherwise, I think you can cut the flash energies and just make your deck more consistent and finish the game in like 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah, Pikarom just seems like the type of deck that it has like pretty close to 50-50 matchups on everything. Like it's really just dependent on whether or not you hit your max elixirs, whether like if you get a turn 1 full blitz off, things like that. Like it's not the type of deck that needs to look for answers for certain matchups. It just the way the deck plays, it's prepared to beat anything almost.
Yeah, I would agree with what Nick said. I think the deck's just in a good position right now because it takes good matchups across the board. Unless you just expect to see like the 1 fighting in the tournament, like the 3 fighting. I don't know how many there will be, but I just think it's in a good spot right now.
So based on everything you guys said, you said Pikarom's really good position. And do you think this could attract more fighting decks to become relevant at this tournament? Do you think anyone's going to bring Hitmonwob? Do you think anyone's going to bring Buzzwole? Because people are looking at the numbers and seeing Pikarom is really hyped right now?
I could see like Hitmonwob being like probably like the only like decent fighting deck out of the like between Buzzwole and like Hitmonwob. I mean, there's Buzzgarb Shrine, but that deck sucks. There's going to be people playing it, but I don't think it's not going to be a decent chunk.
It's not going to make a resurgence.
I think it'll like be played by some people, very few, but I don't think it's going to make a huge resurgence.
All right.
I think if you're gonna pick a fighting deck to play, like as I keep thinking Hitmonwob is definitely like the fighting deck that I would play if I were to play a fighting deck. But at the same time, like I just keep thinking about that Shrine deck at Worlds. Like it was the Buzzgarb Shrine, but it wasn't like Buzzwole. Instead, it was like Regirock as your main attacker. So that way you're not psychic weak. So like your Zoro Guard matchup is like a lot better. But like if I were to play a fighting deck, I think it would be Hitmonwob, because what you can do, like your Hitmonwob, your Zoro Toad matchup is like really weird. Like if you can get the Float Stone, they need the Float Stone fighting for your belt, DCE, all that to get to get their side better. But if they don't get that, like you just kill their Zeruas and then you just kind of take the game away, like slowly but surely. It's just a weird matchup. I personally don't like fighting decks anymore, but that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hitmonwob seems like a good deck just because, watching your opponent dead draw under Woblock is pretty cool. But just having that like pseudo ability lock is really strong. And then obviously hitting things for weakness, hitting Zoroarks and peak rounds for weakness is pretty relevant. So if I were going to play a fighting deck, I'd be playing Hitmonwob. Buzzwole just doesn't seem like it has like what it takes to compete against things that aren't weak to fighting. Like anything that's not like a Pikarom or like straight Zoroark matchup, like Buzzwole just seems like it doesn't do enough.
Yeah, I'd say Hitmon's is like a good deck right now. I don't think it'll make like a big resurgence, but it like has a weird matchup against Zoro control, and if you're fine with that, then like yeah, bring the deck to the tournament and beat all the Pikaroms, but then just have those weird matchups across the board.
Oh, real quick, also, I don't think Buzzwole can beat Shocklock, so that's
No,
good.
it can't. It can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
no.
Hitmonwob's better.
Okay, yeah. So the other turbo deck that we kind of saw do well at the past couple regionals is Ray. Do you think this deck is any good right now, or do you think it's overhyped?
I think it's pretty good. It can overwhelm your opponent pretty easily. It takes a really bad matchup with Zoro Guard. I think it's very good. It's not hard to play, so it's like, newer players or learning players can easily pick it up. Usually pretty much anyone can. It's pretty streamlined. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
I like the deck. It's not terrible. It's not the best deck I've ever played. I don't like losing to Zorogarb just because I love Zorogarb that much. I just don't like losing to that deck. Also, I don't like being limited to Sudowoodo and not having an out to it besides like Silent Lab, which only gives one bench space, which I personally haven't found the best like spot, because you also have to rebirth and like you need your basic abilities. I also don't like your Zoro control matchup as much as I like hear people talk about it, say that it's fine, because like what they can just like Plumeria your one energy that you like need to attack. So like if you have double grass lightning, I can just Plumeria your lightning, and then you have to dig for the lightning. But by the time you're Stormy Windsing and Max Luxuring and everything, you might not have it. So I don't like sitting there with a Ray and just not having it. I don't know. It's not the worst deck I've ever played. Would I play it? Maybe.
Yeah, Ray is just the type of deck that if you're not knocking things out like on your second turn or turn 3, like you're just gonna lose the game. I feel like it's more reliant on hitting max elixirs than like Pikarom, and I don't know. It's like a strong deck, and if it pops off, then it pops off, and you're probably gonna lose. But I I personally wouldn't play it to a tournament just because of the fact that it feels like a high roll type of deck.
Yeah, I think the deck is like trying to do what Pikarom is doing, like with the fast-paced energy, like going turn to him. Like they play Coco Prism and but they rely more on Max Elixirs to get those like big one shots early in the game, whereas Pikarom's just doing a solid 150 plus E powers plus bans, and I just think it's not doing as good as what Pikarom's trying to do.
Yep, and another deck you guys mentioned is Shocklock, and the only reason it hasn't really been seeing a lot of play is because people don't have access to the beaches. But if you do have your hands on the beaches, do you think this deck is good for this tournament, at least? I mean, it is receiving a lot of hype, so it could be countered. You never know. But yeah, take it away.
Yeah, I think if you have access to all the cards for the deck, which is probably harder than playing the deck itself, yeah, go for it. I think you take kind of just like auto win a lot of the format if you set up. You lose to Garb decks, of course, which is like kind of like an iffy thing to lose to, but you never know if Garb can be popular. It's usually something people fall back on. but definitely good if you have access to the beaches and Stoutlands and stuff like that.
So did they start putting Gujar back in the deck?
Why would you ever take it out, in my opinion?
Yeah,
Like-
that sounds.
Play it.
Sorry, what was that? Okay, you didn't say anything. Anyway, my turn. I think Shot Clock is pretty good. If you have access to the cards, like KERR said, if I had access to the cards, I should say, I would definitely play it. I don't like losing to Garbotoxin, just like, so that's why I think it's actually really good now. Zorogarb was not, like, having access to the cards is the only reason you shouldn't play the deck, or you wouldn't play the deck. Like, Zorogarb back for Dallas was like a really bad matchup for you, and it was like the main deck. I think it was like, I had like 71 of like day 1 or day 2 percentage play, not percentage, but like people playing it. I think now with Zorogarb being down, it's definitely a not tier 1, but one of the better meta calls for this event. With Muck and Gudra, you're just like, you're really, really good against most of the format if you set up like KERR said. I'd like it.
Yeah, I guess to give a little insight from what it was like in Daytona, pretty much everyone knew about the shot clock, obviously, and everyone was just praying that someone else was going to hit it. Like, nobody wanted to play against the deck, and for good reason. Nobody was ready to play against it. But I think with how well Control did at Daytona, I feel like people need to probably play outs to counter Control type decks like shot clock. So you need to be able to beat, like, you want to have outs to beat Zoro Control and shot clock. So I feel like it's not necessarily the best deck going into this tournament, but I definitely feel like with shot clock you'll get people that didn't prepare for it, and you'll get free wins that way.
Yeah, and I think with Shot Clock, like, people hope to dodge it, so it's like one of those decks that you just like don't want to play against in the tournament, or like stall with standard. Like, you just don't want to play against it, and it's just like a deck that can just prey on people that don't know how to play the matchup.
Yep. So speaking of the decks that can beat Shock Lock, we have all the Garb variants. So we got Toad Garb and Sable Garb, which are the two decks that weren't Zoroark that made day 2 in Daytona. Do you think either of these decks have a chance to repeat their performances, do better, or what do you think?
So after Daytona, I feel like the reasons why those decks did very good was people weren't ready for them. Those kind of decks just prey on the fact that people aren't running the cards to beat those, or aren't ready to play against the matchup. That's why I think they did so well. But I don't think they're going to see success again. Maybe after some time goes on, like if people start forgetting about it, and like their lists shift towards in favor for Sableye and Toad Garb to do well. I think that's the only reason why they're going to do well.
Yeah, Sable Garb was a good call for Daytona. I think if you're going into Hartford, please don't forget about it again, because you will really regret it. Sable Garb's you have to have 200 to 300 IQ to play it, which I'm glad Ryan Pena did, because I knew if you had the brain power and the mental capacity to keep yourself calm for 15, 16, whatever X many rounds to play it, that you would go very far and do very well. Kind of a little shame that he didn't hit the shot clock, because that would have been fine. But, such is life. I think it's really good. I don't think you would play Toad Garb to an event anymore. I think the one guy did at Greensboro, I think he got lucky, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't know.
Blaine Hill played it at Daytona too.
How do you do?
He day 2, top 32, I think. Yeah.
All right. Well, just be prepared for it, in my opinion. Just don't forget about it, because I know I almost forgot about Sable Garb, and then I looked at Daytona, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, Toad Garb, it feels like a really inconsistent deck, and I don't know how much I'd be worried about it. I feel like the only way someone's going to do really well with Toad Garb is if they run really hot and hit really good matchups. But I feel like that type of deck just gets wrecked by like a Pikarom that gets a full blitz off like turn 1 or turn 2. Um, Sable Garb is weird. Like you have to. It's more of like I think every deck has a way to beat Sable Garb. It's just whether or not you play correctly to be able to beat it. Because like I sat next to the Sable Garb a few rounds, and I just like saw his opponents were just like benching random things that had like 2, 3 retreat costs. I'm like, okay, that's a cool counter catch there. Um, but like
Probably.
if you sit there with just like one attacker and maybe something on the bench with a flow stone or like a backup attacker, like you have a good shot at winning the matchup. Like Sable Garb thrives off of your opponent missing attacks, and if you're attacking every single turn, knocking out Sableye, even if they're getting back like a life due, like they're just gonna run out of resources. You're gonna be able to win the game.
Yeah, so like the funny thing is like going into Daytona, I was like Sable Guard seems pretty gas, and then I'm like, as I'm watching Daytona, I just see all this Toad doing well, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this deck doesn't seem good anymore. Like it just loses, like it just has a bad matchup with Toad. So I don't think the deck is just like in a good spot right now because of all the Toad popping up.
Mm-hmm.
If I can say one thing, like so like about Sable Guard, like I've been testing a Ranger in it, and it's actually really helped the matchup because what you can do, you can just go Ranger, via Seeker for Ranger Faba, and then just junk hunt your Seekers. So like that's the way I've been finding the matchup to go. I don't know if it's like consistently doing well, but that's what I found in my testing is that if you play a Ranger on paper it looks terrible, but in like gameplay I guess you would say it's been all right. It's not been the worst thing I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to decks that kind of have stayed asleep for a little while. Vespiquen and Night March. Now, these decks usually need like, the cooldown period between when they do well because people include tech in their deck for them. So, do you think now is the time to play the tech for Night March, or now is the time to play Night March, or none of the above?
I don't think Night March is very good. I think the only reason why Jimmy won a regional with it was because obviously it had a cooldown time. It was kind of a blind meta. He played the Marsh Shadow, so he could easily beat Pikarom, which had a lot of hate at that time. And also Night March is just a one prize attacking deck. And so I wouldn't play Night March for Hartford. I don't think it has too many great matchups. Or Choreo kind of, messes you up. And same for like Vespiquen. I feel like it needs a little bit of cooldown time. But I definitely think Vespiquen's probably better out of two because Vespiquen can beat control, considering you can just knock out a Toad for weakness with a DC with like a few Pokemon in your discard pile. But yeah, don't play Night March. But Vespiquen's definitely not terrible.
Okay. Yeah, going back to how Jimmy won, Will just misplayed really hard. Like Will talked to us about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw the play, and I shouldn't have attacked. And that's the only reason why I lost." I'm like, "Yeah, it sucks, bud." So technically, Jimmy, in my eyes, I don't think Jimmy should have won, but I mean, congrats to him for it anyway. I think Night March is not good. You just personally, I don't think you can beat Toad, even with like I don't think you can beat Toad Karen or any of that. Like even with Substriker and all that. Like Night March has a harder time against Toad Karen, but Vespiquen has a like better time because you play Substriker and or like Swampert if you play the Archie Swampert engine. I know personally I would cut the Archie Swampert engine just because I just don't find it as strong as it used to be. Like as for like the control variants and stuff, they can just counter catcher it. And it's just like okay, but I think, yeah, I mean, I think if I were to play any of those decks, I would play bees, but I just don't think I would play it. I couldn't bring myself to it.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that now is a pretty okay time to play a deck like Vespiquen or Night March, just because
National champion.
only minor bias, but so because since Control did so well at Daytona, people will be cutting certain techs to try and beat Control, assuming people will play because it's obviously strong, which usually means people are cutting their Oricorios. because that's like the most cuttable tech card. And when people aren't tech, like Vespiquen and Night March thrive when people aren't teching for them. Obviously, it's like when people aren't playing their Oricorios or their Karens. So if people are cutting those cards to beat control, a really aggressive deck is going to do well against decks that are playing a bunch of techs for control.
Yeah, so I have a question. What does Audino do?
Audino, its ability Busybody, you can play it from your hand, and I believe you heal 10 damage and a special condition, or it's either one special condition or all special conditions. I think it's just
Why
one.
why were people talking about that? Like
Uh,
playing that in Vespiquen?
so you can heal. I guess the idea would be to heal paralysis from shock lock, but they play
Oh.
Mox, so that doesn't really work. It'd be good against Zorotoad. You heal sleep if you get stuck asleep, and it puts Pokemon in discard pile.
If you're gonna play any of the status condition things in Vespiquen, I definitely think the Blissey is the better option.
The what?
The Blissey, the Sun and Moon one,
Oh yeah.
because you can evolve it up to do.
What about the Marowak? Will people play that if they play Vespiquen?
Archie's is, Maxie's is banned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like a ball from Ditto. I don't know.
Yeah, Ditto.
maybe. I don't like it.
Maybe I don't think it doesn't seem that good.
So in that case, I just don't think the decks are too great right now. Yeah.
All right. Moving on to a deck that has kind of lost its thunder in the last event. Trevenant. It did really, really well in Toronto. Did all right in Greensboro, and then only had one day 2 appearance in Daytona. Do you
One
think
day two.
In
Only-
day 2?
only
Yeah.
one day 2 in Daytona was Sam Ertman?
Congrats, bud.
Yeah. Do you think this deck has any sort of meta viability right now, or is just control too powerful?
Controls really like kind of just smacks it. Pikarom smacks it. You can lose a Zoroark, so like Zoroark decks if you stumble. Yeah, I don't think Trevenant's good.
Yeah.
You have a good Archie. You have a pretty good Archie's matchup if you can like block them pretty early.
Pikarom says full blitz and then you lose. So don't put the deck.
Yeah. And
Yeah, there's guys.
even like against Archies, like Archies can still win if they just like load up a Eevee Snorlax and just like, okay, dump truck press, knock out every single Trevenant. And like
Oh yeah.
Trevenant's really inconsistent. Like it's really hard to actually set up multiple Trevenants and find everything you need every turn. And it just thrives on people dead drawing, while it itself dead draws a lot.
It does thrive on people misplaying as well, because a lot of people,
Yeah.
even though it's been around forever, still have no clue how to play against it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the deck is like pretty terrible in my opinion. I think the only time it would ever be good is if the meta is Hitmon and Night March and like low HP stuff like that, stuff that they can just prey on. I just don't think the deck is like in a good spot right now. So
Yeah, it has a good shock lock matchup.
yeah, that's about it.
All right. And the last meta deck that we're going to talk about is Archie's. So yeah, this deck was the worst performing deck in Daytona. What do you think about it going into Hartford?
Archie's, it definitely isn't gonna die. People like to play that deck a lot. I don't know if it's the strongest meta call, but it definitely has flexibility with the Pokemon and attackers you can play in it a little bit, sorta. But it 50-50's Pikarom. Have a decent Zoroark matchup. Controls really like disgusting. Like if you can like set up and then just just snowball your opponent, you can easily win. But like if they're able to like set up and like get a quick early clicking punch block and put you in an awkward spot, it can be pretty yucky. Not terrible, but not the best.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know if you were done. I think if you're gonna play Archie's, I think this may be the event to play it. In all honesty, like compared to like the past, like between Daytona and now. Um, it's definitely you need Keldeo floatstone for um shot clock. Definitely. But I mean they have muck, so I mean you gotta try and tower and splash against it. If you're gonna build, okay, I think if you're gonna play Archies, you have to build your list to consistently turn one tower and splash, now more than ever, and then play like your techs to do it. So like Onyx, Eevee Snorlax, obviously you gotta play those Pokemon, but if you gotta make your list to consistently turn one tower and splash because against this, like against Shocklock, you have to, in my opinion. Like, I don't see a way that you beat it consistently without. Against Control, they don't play Mime. From what I saw, I don't remember if what's his face played Mime. Does anybody else know? Yeah, I
don't think he
don't.
did.
Yeah, so I mean, against Control, you just tower and splash them and they lose. I mean, yeah, it's probably the event to play it if you're gonna play it. I don't like it. It's a high roll deck. If you like taking your odds, go for it. I don't feel lucky. Go
Yeah.
for it.
I actually do think Archie's is a pretty strong play for this event since people are going to be countering Control. It's the definition of a aggro beat 'em up deck, and it has a lot of flex attackers that do well in different matchups. Against like Control, you have to be wary about where you put your energies. Make sure that they don't. Make sure you have the out to be able to like retreat your Blastoise or something, and make sure you don't like get Lugia GX Lost Purged like all your energies away. But I think it's good.
Real quick, is Control playing Muck, right?
I would think so.
I don't think so.
So
Because if
I
he
think-
didn't,
It's
Sorry, go
Cargo, Giraffe, Oranguru. I could double check for you right now.
Didn't Estupian Giller that guy play Muck?
Let me check right now. I'll check
I
for
was
you.
gonna say if he didn't, you could 100 like I would play Manaphy EX because then that way against Control, if they catch your stories, you just attach the energy and retreat, and you'd be like, okay, bud, no chance. And then against Trev, you have that attacker to because like Trev's a weird matchup, so like you can still
Yeah, you can just heal everything.
heal everything, right?
Yeah, Control does not play Muck.
Oh.
Okay, if you're gonna play Control this weekend, definitely play Muck. That's the one big thing we're gonna go back and touch. If you're playing Control this weekend, I think you should play Muck. Yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. I think Archie's is in a good place in like my perspective, but like I think the three things the deck needs going into this weekend is Escape Rope, Onyx, and Palkia. I think that's like Palkia is like really good for Pikarom. I think it like you wanna like one turn you just wanna hit in Pikarom with an Onyx, and then like the next turn you just like they're like, oh no, I guess like it would be a different order. It'd be like Palkia, and then you get rid of their energy, and then they'd be like, okay, I have another one out, and then you just hit them with an Onyx, and they can't win the game from there. So that's like your way to beat Pikarom. But then Escape Rope for Shocklock.
All right. Moving on. Past the meta, we're gonna talk about what is the best rogue deck going into this event.
Well, you already know.
Huh?
What?
Yeah, you already know, bud.
best rogue deck. I don't really have one. Like
Only one right answer.
Bud,
I don't.
There's one right answer.
there's
There's
one
what?
answer.
There's one right answer.
I don't have a secret rogue deck.
Well, it doesn't have to be secret. I mean, like, okay. Anyway, I'm gonna answer because KERR doesn't have a brain. 100% Egg Gang. If you don't play Egg Gang as your rogue deck, I think you're doing something wrong. I don't see any other rogue deck doing well. Just because like you're just not as fast. Like Egg Gang also has the outs to Muck, which I still need to know how you consistently beat Muck, even with 3 blower, 2 revitalizer or whatever. I just don't think you can do it. Like if they go Muck dumbbells, I don't know how you win.
Well,
So,
you bank on the fact that they don't go much dumbbells.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just gotta hope. All right. I don't know. I think
Pretty much.
X-Plat's best rogue deck, in my opinion. I don't see any other thing doing well.
I second that.
Yeah, get a
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah,
I bet Nick disagrees here because he doesn't know anything about XSplat.
I know nothing. No, yeah, I definitely have a lot of bias towards Eggsplat as I just top 16 Daytona with it. It's a really strong deck. I mean, when you play against all the meta decks like I did day one, like I went 8-1 day one,
Yeah.
and my only
Yeah,
loss
just go
round
8-1.
dead draw.
Just go 8-1.
Let's just go
Okay.
8-1.
Okay, now that I think about it, there's not only one right answer. Greninja.
No.
Greninja. Yes.
We are
yes.
kicking him from the call. All right.
One Detective Pikachu, bro.
No, dude. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I've been testing it. Me and Jake Ewert, even though Jake hasn't played this season much, he's been following the meta and stuff. He's built a list. I literally played it. It was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. He went red card pass, and I go okay, draw pass, and I go okay, I scoop my cards. No chance I play that deck.
Who plays
That
red
deck is-
card though?
Zoro Garb. Your worst match.
I feel like.
All right. Moving on from Greninja. What are all right? Real things here. What are your
Real
top
things.
3 picks for the event?
Wait, what was the question again?
What are your 3 picks for the event?
My best 3 picks.
The top 3.
Top 3. All right.
Oh
I think
my
my
god.
my best top 3 are probably Archistoys. Maybe if you were to play something like Vespiquen, maybe because you can body control, and probably Zorotoad control. Probably my best 3.
Top 3 in no specific order. Zoro Garb out of comfort, just because I'm just so used to the deck and I just don't want to play anything else. Let's see, Archie's, and Pikarom, so I can turn off my brain for a whole day. That'd feel good nice.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say Eggsplat 3 times?
No, you can only say it
Gas.
twice.
Only twice? Okay, well then
Twice.
Eggsplat. But
Gas.
yeah. Actually though, I would consider playing Eggsplat again. It's a very fun deck, and I enjoyed playing it. Otherwise, I'd probably Archie's is definitely one of my other top ones because I've been playing that deck quite a bit too. I think it's pretty good. And then and then my third would probably be Pikarom, just because, like I said before, like it has like the 50-50 around everything. Like it's just a deck that can do well because it has one game plan and it does it really well.
Full Blitz.
I'm going Zoro Garb, Archie's, and Shocklock.
Oh, Shocklock. Yes, Shocklock. Sorry.
All right. And the last question is the best deck that you would not bring to this event.
Zorogarb.
I would say Shocklock, but I have the access to the beaches, so I'm still gonna say Shocklock, even though I have the access to the beaches.
I would say probably Zorotoad. I don't think it's gonna do well 2 regionals in a row. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I agree. Zorotoad. I wouldn't play the deck.
And if I have any input here, I'd say Archie's I wouldn't bring.
You have no input.
Well, you don't have input here, so
Yeah, I don't have input here. All right.
No.
Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up. If you guys want to do any shout outs or anything, feel free to do so. Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter at KERR_TCG, and shout out Brett Burns.
Cole? Yeah, shout out to Mid Rage Gaming, my sponsor out of Chicago, Illinois. You can follow me on Twitter at Geisler_ALEC. You can friend me on Facebook. That's cool too. Shout out to Arlo, Neil, Jake Ewert, Eli Greenfeld, like all the friends that I test with. I test with so many of you idiots, it doesn't matter at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Wonder Tag Podcast, my low key sponsor. And feel free to follow me on Twitter at Nick C. Robinson. And shout out to Egg Gang, of course.
Egg gang.
Dang.
Shout out to my closest testing partner, Caden Brent, and then shout out scrubbing DeAndre Holmes, Lee Bowie, Steve, Drew, all of them. Yeah.
All right. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.